the ultimate question is, what's in it for those people who are reposting these original bits of disinformation? Is it because they believe it, or is it because there is a lack of facts put out there? And I think in this instance, the police have tried to adapt. Unfortunately, it's difficult to compete.
A 53-year-old man is in custody after a car rammed into people on Monday evening at Liverpool's Premier League winning parade. Let's get the latest with Times Radio's Nick Ellerby, who joins us from Liverpool. Nick, good morning.
Yeah, morning, Callum.
Just bring us up to date with what we know about the progress of the investigation and the latest information.
Well, we had an update at 3 p.m. yesterday afternoon from Merseyside Police, who told us they have until lunchtime today. They were granted an extension to question this 53-year-old man from the West Derby area of Liverpool. He's been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. We understand multiple counts of attempted murder, but the police wouldn't say how many counts. Also dangerous driving and driving under the influence of drugs, which means the police would have done a toxicology report. So we're waiting potentially for charges to be made today. And then in terms of the injured people, the number of injured is now, from what we knew on Monday and Tuesday morning, has risen to 65 in total, with a full 50 taken to hospital. They were taken to 4 different hospitals around the Liverpool city and the Liverpool area. Thankfully, we understand nobody has lost their lives, and the 11 people that are still in hospital as of yesterday afternoon, evening, are on the mend and recovering well. But one of the people still in hospital is a 4-year-old who suffered a collapsed lung. The fire crews gave us an update on Monday night, told us that when they arrived on the scene, they were called at 6:07, arrived on the scene at 6:11, so just 4 minutes it took them to get there. They found 4 people under a car, and one of those people was a child. So still thoughts and prayers with all the victims and their families. And then now really questions turning as to how that car was able to get onto Water Street in the centre of Liverpool. We understand that the driver was able to follow an ambulance. We were told this by police. An ambulance was attending a member of the public having a suspected heart attack, and the driver was able to tailgate the ambulance. Bollards were removed on Rumford Street, which connects onto Water Street. It's right by the docks, right in the centre of Liverpool, and really close to where the parade finished. And then once the ambulance was attending to that member of public, the driver was able to get out and then onto Water Street, where there were thousands of people making their way back from the parade. The police told us that there was a robust traffic management plan in place that had been in the works for months, and they had no intelligence to suggest that an attack of this nature was at all likely. But it was a member of the sort of private contracted security team that removed the bollard to let the ambulance in. At this stage, there's no suggestion that that private contractor did anything wrong in allowing the ambulance to come through. But, those questions remain as to how that driver was able to follow the ambulance and navigate his way past road closed signs.
Yeah. Nick, thank you very much. We'll await further updates throughout the day then from the police and others. That's Times Radio's Nick Ellerby reporting from Liverpool. Now, you'll be familiar with the restrictions that are in place on what we can say because of laws on contempt and because of the limits on what we are told ourselves from police and other authorities as well. However, such is the nature of modern life. If you are online at all, you'll find lots of stuff filling the gap. Conspiracy theories, basically. Dr Rob Wray is Research Director in the Centre for Crime, Justice and Security at the National Centre for Social Research. Dr Wray, good morning.
Good morning.
In terms of, it's great to speak to you. Thank you very much. In terms of what we've been witnessing in the last kind of 48 hours or so, has there been a lot of content appearing online that isn't true, that is kind of leading people astray? And is this part of just a trend, as I say, of modern life, that when incidents like this that are sort of very publicly obvious happen, that the online space is just a vortex of nonsense and misinformation?
Yes, I mean, I think that, as your reporter was saying, I mean, there's a real kind of race to kind of fill that information void, as you say. I think when incidents like this happen, the speed with which disinformation can be amplified around the world, the lie is halfway around the world before the truth has got its trousers on, sort of thing. And I think that one of the things that is a real challenge for the police is that race to control the narrative and to produce kind of counterfactual or counter narratives and produce fact to prevent that kind of that amplification of the disinformation. But yes, I mean, the part of the challenge really is where this sort of incident occurs. there are those that are hell-bent on sharing disinformation in a way that misleads and misrepresents the facts that are there.
And when we look into these sorts of scenarios and we consider the motivations for people posting misinformation, is it as simple as something I've suggested in the past? Anyone who posts anything online is doing it for attention. And I think to say otherwise is actually to be naive. If I post a picture of my holiday on Instagram, I'm only doing it because I want people to like the photo and to be impressed with where I am. That is the motivation for it. I accept that. Is it similar here, that people are fueling their own thoughts, ideas and agendas, and they want attention, they want so-called clout for what they're posting?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this information now has become a bit of an epidemic in this country, and particularly in social media. I mean, it's not a new concept. I mean, people have been banging on since fake moon landings and other conspiracy theories, JFK and so on, 60 years after the event. But I think your point about it being powerful is absolutely right. I mean, individuals in groups and that are trying to push that disinformation narrative are very much driven by, if you like, the number of likes they get, or and it makes individuals feel powerful in that regard. So I think that kind of drive to repost. The ultimate question is, what's in it for those people who are reposting these original bits of disinformation? Is it because they believe it, or is it because there is a lack of facts put out there? And I think in this instance, the police have tried to adapt. Unfortunately, it's difficult to compete against that kind of speed of spread of disinformation.
Are we too restricted then by the rules? I mentioned contempt a few moments ago. If we contrast with America, which doesn't have such tight rules on what you can say in legal processes, we could say a lot more. Does that go any way to preventing conspiracy theories? A kind of more of a freedom for authorities to say more, for the media to put more information out there as well?
Yeah, I mean, part of this phenomenon is also a bit of an import from the US. So I think where you've got the regulation, and I know that President Trump has been talking about, is taking aim at the sort of freedom of speech and so on in the United Kingdom. I mean, I think there is obviously a balance, but I think that balance has got to be in part driven by how these platforms are regulated and fact-checked. And as you know, we're kind of going in the opposite direction, where the information in there, it's a bit of a wild west. And as a result, the people who are spreading disinformation and creating that kind of content are doing so with relative impunity.
Yeah, it's fascinating and it's troubling as well. Dr. Wray, for now, we'll leave it there, but I'm sure we will speak again. Dr. Rob Wray is Research Director in the Centre for Crime, Justice and Security at the National Centre for Social Research. Just always be alert to what you are seeing, particularly online, if it's not from an official source like the police, who, in fairness, did get information out there quite quickly after this incident.
Yeah, well, within an hour, really. I mean, what we remarked upon yesterday was the police have said, don't share content like this online. You can't actually avoid it. Yeah. If you go on to particularly X on Twitter, you stumble across it straight away. Really graphic, horrible videos. I'm sure you are not alone in that experience. I had something similar yesterday. And people sharing the most sensationalist comments. And those, of course, are the ones that create traction and sort of catch fire online. So the dangers of all of that. Really interesting. And also thanks to Nick as well earlier.